On you.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this afternoon, dear Lord Jesus. Father God, I pray for all the children right now that is going through some kind of problems, dear Lord Jesus. Renew their minds and their heart and touch them, dear Lord. Father God, peer pressure, depression, mental illness, everything is just taking over them. And Lord Father, just pray for a family member tonight that she gains strength and she trusts in you, and to know that you are God and you are God of all things, and that last night wasn't not her last night, and you give her a new chance today to renew her mind and her soul and protect her. Let your angel keep charge of her life. In no other name but in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everybody.
Good night, Shawnette. I just want to say condolences going out to Junior Huggins. Everybody know him as Hungry. He's a childhood friend of ours. He passed away earlier on this afternoon, and our thoughts and prayers are out there to Cheryl and Judy and all his siblings, Roger. You know, we grew up with him in Trinidad, and he lost the battle to that big sea. So, you know, just condolence going out to, you know, him and his family at this time, right?
Yes.
Sharon, his wife, and his children. So may his soul rest in peace. All right. If you're celebrating a birthday, happy birthday. Hope that you guys have a wonderful day. And if you had a birthday weekend gone, happy birthday.
Yesterday was Aziza, my daughter.
Oh, happy belated birthday,
19.
Aziza. Wow.
Yes.
Time flies, right?
Time flies. I'm like, oh
yes.
my God.
So happy birthday to your
Happy
daughter.
birthday, Zizi.
Yes. So what you got for the word of the week this week?
Okay, the word of the week is disheartening. So disheartening is causing someone to lose determination or confidence, discouraging or dispiriting. So when you are disheartened, think of your heart. You are feeling like all of your confidence and your spirit has been lost. And the reason why we're using this word today is because it is related to our topic.
Yes. And just give them a recap what our topic will be.
All right. So a recap of what our topic is when you are in a relationship, what happens if one of the partners becomes either deathly ill, sick, maybe disfigured in some form or fashion. Maybe they've gotten into an accident or something happens to cause them to become maybe disabled. When you are in a relationship or marriage, a serious commitment to someone, what do you do in terms of being able to be loyal and taking care of that person? Because we always say in sickness and in health, but truly, is that how you feel when you're in a loving relationship, when that partner can no longer reciprocate certain things?
Right.
So that is what we're dealing with.
So we're going to talk about that in coming up tonight. Good night, Betty and Lockton and all my siblings there. Again, we say our condolence go out to the family of Junior Huggins, and you know, may his soul continue to rest in peace. Amen. Nicole, good night. All right, so our health tip for this afternoon, I want to talk a little bit about stuttering.
Oh, okay.
All right.
That's a good one.
Stuttering, also called stammering or child onset fluency disorder, is a speech disorder that involves frequent and significant problems with normal fluency and flow of speech. People who suffer know what they want to say but have difficulty saying it. For example, they may repeat a prolonged a word, a syllable, or constant or vowel sound. Or they may pause during speech because they are reach a problematic word or sound. Stuttering is common among young children as a normal part of learning to speak. Young children may stutter when their speech and language abilities aren't developed enough to keep up with what they want to say. Most children outgrow this developmental stuttering. Sometimes, however, stuttering is a chronic condition that persists into adulthood. This type of stuttering can have an impact on self-esteem and interaction with other people. Sometimes when you notice when people stuttering, they doesn't like to have conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, good night, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuttering symptoms include difficulty stating a word,
Mm-hmm.
phrase, or sentences, prolong a word or song within a word, repetition of song, syllables or word, brief silence for certain syllables or word, or pause within a word, broken word, addition of extra words such as if difficulty moving to the next word is anticipated, excess tension, tightness, or movement of the face or upper body to produce a word, anxiety about talking, limited ability to effectively communicate. The speech difficulty of stuttering may be accompanied by rapid eye blinking, right? Tremors of the lip or jaw, facial thick, head jerk, clicking fists. Stuttering may be worse when the person is excited, right? Tired or under stress, or when feeling self-conscious, hurried or pressured. Situations such as speaking in front of a group or taking on a phone call can practically difficult for some people who stutter. However, most people can speak without stuttering when they talk to themselves and when they sing or speak in union with someone else. Right? So when to see a doctor lasts more than 6 months, occurs with other speech or language problem, become more frequent, or continues as childs grow older, occurs when muscle tightening or visibility, struggling to speak, affects the ability to effectively communicate at school, at work, in social interaction, cause anxiety or emotional problem such as fear or avoidance of situation where speaking is required, being an adult. And I see that, right? And so, some people might tell them, like, at least I noticed today I had someone and he was stuttering, and I realized that when they get anxious and they want to communicate, it tends to come out more.
Now, what do you do when someone is stuttering and you're the person listening? What do you do?
I let them finish speak. Yeah, because sometimes they try to express. It's like you're in a deep dream, and in that dream you're screaming, but you can't come out of it. So they're trying to express themselves. So we have to just be cautious, and stuttering can lead to problem communicating with others, being anxious and speaking, not speaking, avoiding situations that require it, and being bullied or teased, because some people do that to people who stutter, and some people have low self-esteem
because of it.
So guys, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there are like famous actors who have a stuttering difficulties, but you would never know that because they've been trained to target it. The famous James Earl Jones, who gets paid for his voice. He's a chronic stutterer, and the only reason why I know about this information is because I took communications in college. I graduated a communications major, and I couldn't understand. I'm like, how is that possible? But there are techniques that they teach you when you feel like you cannot get a word out. You actually just take a pause. People think to themselves that it's such a long pause, but a pause is better than this. When people do that, it's because they can't find the words. But if you literally just stop, you can actually express the word. The brain has time to process it, and then you get the word out. Also, with stutterers is if someone is, we have a tendency to show people that we hear them, we understand, but sometimes that makes the person who's stuttering feel more anxious. So it's best not to do too much movement. Just let them speak. Because when you're like this, it makes it seem like you're like, come on, go ahead.
Say what
hurry up. Hurry up. Exactly.
Let's get over this.
So you have to recognize that maybe with someone who doesn't have a stuttering issue, they or challenge, you don't call it an issue, you may automatically just do like this, like nod your head. But when someone is, you should always stay calm, because that actually keeps them calm as well. So they're just little things that you just learn along the way, but it is something that is treatable. If you feel like you've been bullied, if you feel like maybe a child, a family member, it doesn't matter what the age is something that can be rectified.
Yeah.
It's just a technique that they use to help it, because it really is in the head.
Yeah.
It really is.
And then what I noticed too, sometime with the person, they will speak normal, and then again, when the anxiety comes in, they start,
Right.
So that's normal.
Right.
So we just can't make fun of people who stutter. That's the point about it, It is, that's the way how God made them, So we just have to just be mindful. And that's our health tip for this week, on stuttering.
Yes.
All right?
Good topic, yes.
Tonight we want to talk a bit about, if you're in a relationship.
That big old R.
Right? And y'all might be saying, oh, we always targeting relationship. No, actually, one of our viewers wanted us to speak about this actual, topic, right? And it's, if your partner or spouse become disabled, would you leave the relationship or marriage? Now, when we talk about disabled, we're talking about in every aspect. Right?
Correct.
And sometimes it can become overwhelming for some people. Right. Some people may not, can handle it. Right? So what are your perspective on it?
It's a really interesting topic. I know when you brought it to my attention, we weren't sure if it was something we wanted to cover.
Right.
Because it's sensitive,
Very.
Especially when you have a family member, or even if you're in that situation. First of all, it's always really important to put yourself in the person's shoes.
All the time.
Always try to have compassion and empathy, because if you were sick, or God forbid you had terminal cancer,
right,
would you want your spouse, your loved one, to just shy away from you in these last days? Or if you got into a horrible accident and was, paralyzed from the waist down, which means that maybe something as simple as sex, or, cuddling, or things that you used to do, walking in the park, right, sitting, something, playing with your children, can no longer happen. Would you want your family member, or a spouse, or a loved one, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, to shy away from you and not be there for you, right, in your time of need? So that's why we pose this question, because when people are ill, sometimes they get mean.
Right.
They're bothered, they're nasty.
Yes.
Not on purpose. They're frustrated. And what happens? We lash out at the people who are near us, who are closest to us. Right. Not because we don't love and care for them, but that's the only person that's around us. Yes. So when you're pissed off, who's going to get the brunt of it? Not the stranger, it's the person who loves you the most. Right. And you, as the receiver, what are you doing about it? Are you lashing back? Are you staying calm? Are you praying to God to ask for some type of patience and forgiveness and have mercy? Because eventually you keep hearing it, then you start to react. You become reactive instead of proactive. Right. So when these words of, for better or for worse, sickness or health, is that really, do you just go through the motions and say it, I do, because that's what is said, when you have a ceremony? Or do you really think about what those words mean?
Yes. And I think too, sometimes people get themselves into situations that they didn't sign up for. So I posted the question today to some of my co-workers, and one of them in particular had to say, if her husband becomes 600 pounds, which is obese, she's not going to clean him, and she's going to get out of that marriage.
Interesting.
Right? So, everyone have a different perspective, because
the breaking point.
She's not dealing with it.
Right.
All right?
Right.
So Nicole have a question here, or a remark. You can wheel the significant other and hang out at the park. People let their pride get in their way. It's a matter of doing things differently.
Correct. Right.
Right. But as we say, they have other different situation, because this is a broad spectrum we're talking about.
Correct.
We,
right.
as Phyllis said, we're talking about if you get in a car accident
Right.
and this person lost mobility from your waist go down,
or
then
from the neck down.
or the neck
and
down,
they're like a vegetable or something.
Yes.
What do you do?
What do you do?
You're in a relationship.
Yeah.
You're used to doing things. You're used to going on vacations. You're used to
What are you going to do? We
What
want to
are
hear
you
from
going to
you
do?
guys.
Right.
You know,
Right.
what are you going to do in that situation?
Right.
Would you leave or would you go? Then you have situation where you have abusive spouses.
Correct. Because
Then
you stay now,
Yeah.
and then you're frustrated, and you take it out on the person who can't help themselves. You know, do you follow through? Do you do that just so you don't look bad to the public that you walked away from your loved one because of their circumstance? Or do you do what's best for yourself and not think about society and what they think of you, but you do what you know is the best thing for yourself? Because at the end of the day, you still have to be happy. And what makes you happy is the thing that's going to make you happy, staying in a relationship with someone you love or loved, and now that person can no longer help themselves.
Exactly. So we have just a scenario, and I have a caller that I'm going to we're going to phone.
Oh, nice.
And it's a man,
Mm-hmm.
and he will tell us his story.
Okay.
All right.
Nice.
So
Yes.
my husband didn't leave us. The question was, this is Google. Would you leave a spouse who is disabled and require a dedicated caretaker or even feed themselves? My husband didn't leave us. This is one of the ladies talking. I found out in my 50s that I had been suffering from Lyme disease for 25 years. For most of those years, I was disabled, sometimes more functional than others. When my son was 12, he also contracted Lyme disease and didn't figure out what it was until he was 17. It was a situation that would have caused many men to cut and run. My husband, accommodated to my lack of income, continued to work full-time at a desk job and took on a side job on evening and weekend. He cleaned the house and cooked the meals. He paid the bills and handled the generic paperwork. He shopped, he did the laundry. He found money for the doctor bills and prescription. He got frazzled sometime and overwhelmed. He got mad at doctors that couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, with our son, but never considered leaving. Again, you know, every situation is different. Nicole is saying the person is the same person you love. I believe in for better or worse. Yeah, but most couples these days not believing into better or for worse.
Or you say it and you believe it, but when it actually happens,
you
then
leave,
what?
you run.
Right.
You know?
Then what? Mm-hmm.
My spouse wasn't so disabled as to be unable to feed himself, and he was partially disabled before we were married, but I left him anyway. I didn't leave him because I had to care for him. I didn't leave him because it was only difficult. I left him because his disability made him physically dangerous to me. After less than 2 years of marriage, I left him after months of escalating physical violence. The physical violence was a result of his disability. It left him incapable of sound reasoning. I tried to get him to enter treatment. I even had the police take him to the psychic ward, but once there, he wouldn't cooperate, so he came home. 2 months later, after he sent me to hospital to get staples in my scalp. He was very violent.
Wow,
I
that's really
filed
violent.
charges and then filed for divorce. I delayed having fully executed in case he finally accepted help, and I rented him an apartment at my expense for a year after that. Before the lease was up, his neighbors had to call the police and have him taken to the psychiatric ward again. Again, he didn't accept help, and that's when I had to divorce. The divorce was finalized. I believe in for better or worse, but the limit is that I can't live in a situation where I fear for my life. I can't care for someone who sends me to the hospital with a head injury that he packed up something just a little heavier to get me with could have killed me. If I'm dead, it wouldn't have helped either of us. So again, we know it's for better or for worse, but these are real life situations.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
You want to read this one?
Okay, fine. And here's another one. I did, and I'm proud of myself for doing so. One night, as my husband was getting ready for a long bike ride to work, a large spider ran across the sofa I was sitting on. I yelped in shock and asked him to help me get rid of it. This delayed his start by 10 minutes. Our car was broken, so he was riding his bicycle 2 hours each way. About 2 hours after he left, the phone rang. I was expecting it to be him letting me know that he was at work safely. Instead, it was someone who asked for me but mispronounced my name terribly. I assumed it was a telemarketer, so told them I wasn't interested and started to hang up. They asked me about him. I told them yes, he lives here and this is his wife. Can I help you? At that point, they responded by telling me they were the police and he had been hit by a car. He was on his way to the local hospital. I called my mother, who came as quickly as she could and took me to the hospital. It's the first time I've even seen a real human bone sticking out of his leg. It was terrible. They told us that there was nothing they could do. He would have to be sent to the big hospital in St. Louis to have his leg amputated. My mother drove me to that hospital, calling our priest who went with us. At Barnes Hospital, they said they thought they could save his leg, so they started the first surgery to reconstruct it. Over the next week, they did skin grafts and inserted a shaft in the bone. But they did tell us they thought he would never walk again. It would simply allow him to avoid phantom pain. They never did find out who hit him, but it was after that when he became violent. He had been diagnosed in the past with schizotypal personality disorder, combined with extreme levels of paranoia. He never technically hit me, and it's amazing to me how many people don't consider it abuse if they don't hit you. His mood swings were so sudden. I remember one day I was sitting on the floor and he lay down and put his head in my lap. There was a pillow on the floor next to me, so I picked it up and set it on his head so that he could shift it under his head and be more comfortable. Instead, he flipped it away, laughed, so I did it again, just playing around with him, and we did that 3 or 4 times. Then the last time I set it on his head, he sat up, threw it across the room, and then just put his head back down and sank his teeth into my thigh as hard as hard as he could.
Wow.
It hurt so badly I was bruised and bleeding, even though the jeans I was wearing. Okay.
He's a monster.
Yes, he would pinch, bite, physically force me to do things I didn't want to do. Once he was walking again, he worked in security. He used his handcuffs to restrain me while he did whatever he wanted to me, enjoying my screams when I hurt. One night at a friend's house, I had been working outside all day and so asked him to get me a drink. My arm had been around his shoulder while we talked. He got mad that I asked for the drink, grabbed my wrist, swinging my arm over his head and accidentally bringing it down against his shoulder, snapping the elbow backwards. Oh my gosh. My friend insisted on taking me to the emergency room. She tried to get me to report him. So did they, but I just kept saying it was an accident. He didn't mean to do it. Things just kept getting worse, but he was still hurt. They were still talking about more surgeries to fix his leg. How could I leave him hurt like this? I didn't get support from my family. In fact, the only person I talked to in my family told me he was a good man and I need to watch how I explain things so people understood it was an accident. On top of that, I knew I made him late that day if I hadn't been so needy. This is such an interesting story.
Yes.
About that spider. He would not have been in the path of that car. It was easy to blame myself, and he certainly encouraged it. Finally, my friend introduced me to her cousin who was separated from an abuser. My friend died before her cousin, and I got comfortable enough together and decided we could take care of each other through our divorce. But with her help, I was finally able to understand it was necessary to leave him, even though he was still disabled and still facing surgeries and recoveries. So yes, I left him while he was disabled, and I'm proud of that. I did so, and that I managed to not repeat that mistake. I still don't feel 100% safe. I don't know if I ever will, but I do know that it is possible to go from that to a wonderful life. My husband of 13 years now is a wonderful man, a great father who would never hurt me and would do anything to keep me safe. I'm blessed to be away from my ex and have all that I do today. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So then we say, is it for better or for worse?
Yes,
You know?
yes. That's a very interesting story.
Very, very, very.
So I think like in this particular case, yes, it was an abusive relationship and it looked like he walked again, but the abuse still continued because there was guilt in him. He probably resented her for that whole incident with the spider, because had he not had to come back, right, then maybe he wouldn't have been in the path. But we all know that nothing is by accident, and whatever's destined and ordained is going to be destined and ordained. So it's interesting because I think that guilt factor is what has been written or writing both of them equally. Unfortunately, it caused and led to abuse. But I mean, thankfully for her, she has no regrets of leaving. She had to do what was best for her. So.
Yeah. And Nicole is saying she stayed too long. When there's abuse physically, mentally, or emotionally, I don't believe in staying in an unhealthy relationship. And I think too that, you know, whether disabled or not, and she's correct. You know what I mean? So,
well, Nicole, I'm sorry, I wanted to mention the problem with that is that the person is abusive, but then do you attribute that abuse to their to what happened to them? Do you say, oh, he doesn't mean it because, or he or she, because it could be a woman too, doesn't mean it because they're disabled, or you know, they may not ever walk, or they're upset that they can't walk. They really don't want to do that. To me, it's because of the disability. So you start to make excuses for
him or her.
Yeah. So that's the problem with that.
So I think we're going to give our caller, we're going to keep this caller unknown tonight, but it's a male, and we're going to hear his story because it's very interesting, I'm sure, you know, and we hardly get males.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Okay, so our discussion, we're talking about being disabled and if, you know, staying with your partner or spouse, if they will stay or they will leave, you know. So tell us your testimony.
Well, my testimony is like this. If either party get disabled, one of the first thing you guys should do if you want to stay together is go for counseling.
Okay. Marriage counseling? Or
marriage counseling, together counseling to figure out the situation.
Okay.
That's one of my best advice. And if situation, as I was just, you know, you guys spoken, is different.
Right. Yes, some situations are different. But we were saying that sometimes, you know, they have, like, you might develop a problem during marriage and your spouse may walk out, you know, or your spouse may stay. You know what I'm saying? So we were just asking, how you feel about that? What's your thoughts on it?
Spouse leaving?
Yeah.
Well, as me, as a person who get disabled,
right,
you have to have sympathy because for your spouse also, because this is remember, it's you disabled, but it's come like both of you guys disabled.
Right.
This is something new to the person.
Right.
And you never know how someone will react. Some people are strong, can stand with the person who's injured, and some persons are weak, but they can't.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some persons are weak, and you just really can really be on them for that.
Okay. But what?
Go ahead.
But how do you feel being disabled and your spouse walking out or not giving you that support? How that made you feel?
It made me feel like to do all kind of stuff. Make me feel to commit suicide at one time because, you know, you can't believe it's happening to you.
Right.
But to me, in my situation, I try to look to the good in myself.
Right.
Try to focus more on that because it's you. Everything is, I mean, it's supposed to be, but it's you, you know, it's up to you how you want to deal with it. If you want to be strong, if you want to be weak. But that's my situation. I cannot talk for no one else.
Correct. So did God play a part in you gaining strength, or where did you get the strength from to say, okay, my spouse walk out or she's not with me anymore, how would I go on from today? What you have out there to tell the person who's disabled?
Well, that's good. That's good. That's why they always say to pray.
Right.
Because what, pray and knowing there's a God above help you a lot to focus on Him. And let me dig into my Bible, dig into God more, and find my comfort in Him.
Right.
And so you have that to lean on and to trust on, and always read your Bible, listen, and that helps you a lot.
Right. Right.
So that was one of my go-to then.
Well, that is very good, and we are so happy that you are doing good, and you're here with us today.
Yes.
You understand, despite your disability, you're alive and you're still in the land of the living.
Yes.
And it's so good that we have a man on. You know,
really
we
great.
hardly have men talking.
Yeah, I must say to you, you must have friends.
Yes.
You know, people say friends is friends, but once you have friends who is willing to help you, that help you goes a long way.
Very good.
So I would say a friend is sometimes closer to you than a brother.
Right.
When you have close friends, it's really closer to you.
Good, to help you in those trying times.
Yeah, trying times. Yeah, and you know what? You have to be good for people from now, because you never know what can happen. And
That's
might
true.
those same people fall back home.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Right, because we always take people for granted, and they always say don't. Right, don't bite the hand that feeds you. You just never know sometimes, right? So thank you for that advice, and God bless. And
yes,
we're just happy that you're able to speak on this topic.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for supporting Motivational Monday.
Yes.
All
right, thanks.
All right,
bye.
Yeah, guys, there you have it. You never know what somebody. Good night, Nancy. Good night, viewers. You never know. The topic is about, if you're married and your spouse or your husband got disabled, would you stay? Sometimes it's for better or for worse, but some people, especially younger people, not staying.
Right.
They walking out of that marriage. Adios, amigos.
Right.
And
have no resilience.
Yeah.
And I think resilience and fortitude comes with going through that pain and walking through that. Going through those motions, when you walk away, then you don't know if you can overcome it because you've never tried. Now, it doesn't mean you have to, but it is a test of your faith for sure. It makes me think of the movie Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Right.
When the ex-husband had done her so wrong at the time, and then when he became disabled, she was there for him. However, she also mistreated him because she felt like, you deserve this, and let me show you why it was important for you not to have wronged me. So it's like an interesting dynamic, because here he appreciated her and she was showing him, I'm here just by the grace of your God, because if not, I would drown you now in this tub.
Yes.
Remember when she threw him in and he was in a wheelchair?
Exactly.
I let him suffer a bit. So, but that's a form of abuse. At the end of the day, even though he abused her, we still have to be responsible and accountable for our actions. So
yes, okay. So hi, I have you on live with your voice here.
Yes,
and I tell us your testimony, because I think it's interesting.
I just posted it.
Yes.
Well, I was married 2 times at different times though.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying that, because that would have been our next topic.
My first wife, she had leukemia, and I never thought of leaving at all. I was committed to the relationship, to the marriage, and we were married for 7 years before she succumbed to her sickness, and then I got married again 3 years later, and the second wife had a abnormal snoring problem. She felt like she would kind of can't breathe. I thought she was going to die in her sleep some nights, and it was very abnormal in the night sleeping with somebody and they're going to die, you know.
Right.
And I never thought of leaving her in that situation. We have 2 kids together.
Right.
And so I think one of your nieces just something. For better or for worse, or riches for power,
Right.
to their group part.
Right.
So I think I took the vows in both situations as serious as they were read to us.
Right.
And today, I'm still here. I think I am still married. They leave and gone, so I'm still married with them. So it depends on the individual and the way in which you were brought up and the way in which you see life around you.
Right.
And once you're committed to that person, nothing should make you leave that person because they have
a disability.
Or something like that, right?
Right.
Should stay the course, and especially now. You said something earlier on that the young people now they won't do that.
Right.
And they have all the resources available to them now for help with healthcare and people coming in to help with
right, exactly.
And cooking for them.
Yes.
They get 4 hours, 5 hours a day with some healthcare worker. So the resources are there. So anybody who's leaving their situation, they really want to leave.
Right.
They want to stay the course and help the situation, or be true to the marriage.
Right.
They just want the easy way out.
And what about, I will ask you, what about some of these spouses or husband that is very abusive to the wives and then they become disabled? I mean, some of them tend to be violent, as you can hear the story that we just tell just now. Anything you have to offer on that point of view?
I just feel that abuse in any form or fashion is unacceptable. I am 66 years and I have never put my hands on a woman in my life. And I don't think any man should be hitting a woman, period.
Right.
When you look at the size of a man and the size of a woman, and this is the same when you want to cough and beat and get your eye black and blue, and then they want to go and be baby and love you and then make up and thing.
See what you made me do.
Right. She's nice already, she's pretty already. Why make her ugly and then you want to make up and say I love you after black and blue she and thing. Right. So that is a no-no as far as I'm concerned. Okay. If it's bad, leave, get counseling, get some advice, and move on. But don't stay in any abusive relationship.
Whether they're disabled or not.
Disabled or not, do not stay. Do not accept the abuse and say they have a shortcoming or they're disabled, they don't know better. They know better. Once you're 18, you're raising your hand, you know better.
Right. Okay. That's very good advice.
All right, so thank you for your contribution. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your loyalty.
Okay. Yes. And thank you for watching Motivational Monday every week. Good night, Kenny. Good night, Juanita. Good night, Allison. Yes, guys. So, again, it's a very ticklish situation when it comes to being disabled and, staying with your partner. Again, everybody's situation is different.
Right.
No situation is the same.
And even when it's the same, it's you still unique because the person's age, it could be the background. So many factors can change what that situation is. But these are also real life testimonies to show people. Yes. So there will be another one. I'll read that one.
Yes.
So how can I respectfully break up with my girlfriend who is now confined to a wheelchair?
Yes.
So as quickly as possible, a friend of mine is a paraplegic. She was injured in high school, a car accident, paralyzed from the waist down. Little to no chance to ever walk again. Before she was injured, she was a fairly good soccer player, had a scholarship to a small athletic D1 school, was dating a guy who was going to school with her, then been dating for most of high school, about 2.5 years later. Then she went to a party, got into a car with a friend who had been drinking, hit a curve too fast, the car went one way, the road went another. She woke up in the hospital bed, unable to feel anything below her belly button. Wow. Her boyfriend was with her for a few months before he broke it off.
Wow.
She gave him an out multiple times after she realized that everything they had planned together was never going to happen. They weren't going to college together. Her college experience would be completely different. She'd be the girl in the wheelchair for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
But he kept telling her he loved her and he would never leave her. Then he did. So she was crushed. Not because he left, but because he told her he wasn't. Okay. I've been friends with her older brother, who is my age, for a while. And when we heard he left, we were pissed at that point. We were in our early 20s, and this was a direct affront to his sister and a girl who I looked at like a sister. It was the reason for an ass kicking. But she begged us to let him go. Her words, paraphrased, were that it's not something you can force upon somebody, especially if they knew before. The person you loved is forever altered, and that's never going to be the same. She didn't want him to stay with her out of pity, because that was worse than him leaving. Now, we've talked about dating and relationship over the years, and it's been a challenge for her, but she's never blamed her ex for it. She understands, but she was heartbroken that he did leave her, or he lied to her. So to the OP, your girlfriend is going through something extraordinarily life-changing. If she recovers, she might fully recover. She might still have huge neurological issues. Some people are walking paraplegics who can move, but still not feel their lower bodies. She might have other physical issues as well. She might never recover and be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of her life. If you don't think you can deal, I would let her know. She doesn't want your pity. She wants your support. And if you can't give that to her, it's probably best you don't stick around any longer.
Yeah, but that is a story, yeah? And Nancy's
story.
staying here could be poor coping skill, fear of their life, is not want their vision to be, just a different point of view. Now, after years of partnership, could be viewed differently.
Right. I think
But that one there, when I read that, I was like, wow. Okay, so we'll read another one. I'm currently married to a lovely wife. She has some chronic health issues that prevent the common form of physical intimacy. We have not done it over 3 years. I also spend a significant portion of my day taking care of her. I will answer this question from first-hand experience. Yes, if that is your only reason for leaving, it's wrong. When you got married, you took a vow and made a promise to support your spouse the best way you can, regardless of health or wealth. To not keep the promise because of lack of some sloppy friction and some extra chores is mean, selfish, and the action of individuals incapable of honor, caring, or love. You should crawl in a hole and put it close behind you. You know? Again, you know, we just reading some stories here about, you know, people personally doing that good against my belief and moral. Part of my marriage vows that I said was that I will remain with my husband in sickness and in health. That goes both ways. And in July 2016, I had an accident that had me completely dependent and then mostly dependent on him for nearly 9 years. I still have some permanent issues that have affected my life. More recently, my husband was diagnosed with advanced metastasis prostate cancer and has definitely had an effect on what we can and cannot do. He can no longer work and has been unable to have sexual relations for quite some time. These things I wrote above is just small examples of what my life has been like, and I would never ever consider tossing him aside. He bade me wash my hair and wipe my butt when I needed it, and he did it without complaint. If he ever needs me to do it for him, I would consider the honor to do so. That is what love and marriage is truly about. Walking away when things get tough, in my personal opinion, only is a selfish coward will do that. If you truly love your spouse, you would not be asking this question. How would you feel if the tables were turned? Left alone, sick, disabled, abandoned. Yes, I feel it would be wrong to leave, especially if you took marriage vows in sickness and in health. How many times do you do it? Should it be important part of your marriage? All couples have good and bad times. There are more to the intimacy than the obvious. If you are feeling like leaving, I urge you to seek marriage guidance, counseling, or other professional help first. I hope things work out with both of you. So again, this was a good story too.
Yeah, it was really good. Yes.
Yeah. So again, these are the struggles that some people go through being with somebody disabled. We didn't sign up for this. We didn't sign up for being with somebody.
It's not my fault.
Yeah.
When I married you, we had a full life, or when we were together, we had plans. So I think for me, nothing is guaranteed, right? When we go into situations, you're only hopeful, you only have faith that things are good.
Yeah.
But you have to know that, there's a saying in my culture where we say man proposes and God disposes, right? It's like, if it's not his will, doesn't matter.
Right.
You could say, oh, I see you tomorrow, and not wake up.
Right.
So it's the same thing with when you're in a relationship. I think the stronger the foundation of the relationship is, the easier it becomes in dealing with situations like this. If you're,
especially if you get into difficulties,
correct,
or something sudden happen, because accident we never know. Sickness,
that's why
it's
called an accident. So I think that what's important, and I'm learning that now, even in my new relationship, it's like I said, the first thing for me, it's like it has to be rooted in God, because there's a peace that you get when you love and have God. There's a peace that honestly no partner can fulfill that. Because the thing is, people hurt, people love, people break up all the time. But when you have that love for God, that peace, I think you're able to show each other the same way. You would feel even horrible to mistreat that person that you love, because you love God so much and you know what that means, that you would feel evil to even do anything remotely away from that love. So that's why I think it's important to put God in the relationship, put God in the middle. Let that be the first priority.
Then God is the foundation.
God is the foundation. So when you think
He is love,
He is love. He's the epitome of love. And we use that word so loosely. Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. People say I love you, don't exactly love you. Everything is I love you, but truly, what is love? Do you know what that means? You know what do you define as that? Is that feeling of butterflies? Is love when you're loyal? Is love when you have compassion? Love means so many things, but love is really an action word.
Right.
It's not necessarily a feeling word, it's an action word. So I think that if your foundation is really strong, then you don't have to worry about these kind of things, because you will get through it.
Exactly.
And it can't just be the frivolous, pretty stuff. It's not pretty.
Love is always walking away. Right? When that person is toxic, you can live
and love
them, and you can walk away as well. Right? What about when your spouse becomes disabled, your whole world changes in an instant. The plans you made for the future all crumbled away. Suddenly your life feels like an endless stream of doctor's appointment and therapy group. It may feel that you no longer really know the person you have married to. Right? If their disability has changed their personal or behavior in profound ways. Some couples navigate the challenging that disability brings successfully. They they find a way to stay connected as partners and equals. Certainly their daily routines, their roles they play in them may have completely changed. But these couples are able to maintain romantic partnership. For others, however, it is not that simple. Some disabilities have a profound impact on who a person is, aside from what they can no longer do. Their disability changes on how they are able to be in their relationship. This can often be case of a stroke or brain injury. It may also be the case of when one partner has progressive disorder like multiple sclerosis. In many counseling practice, I provide therapy to clients who have partners have become disabled. Sometimes they will recognize that they cannot remain in their marriage. They would say, I love her. I know she's working so hard to get better, but she has changed so much. And I don't feel like I'm a husband anymore. I feel like I'm a housekeeper, a nurse, and a chauffeur. Only the really bad days, I feel like I'm just a babysitter. She just looks the same, but she isn't the same person anymore. I want to support her and care for her, but I don't think I can stay married to her anymore. These partners want to maintain a loving, caring relationship to their partner, but defining the relationship as a marriage no longer feels right. These caregivers recognize that if they can stop holding themselves accountable to do all these things a spouse does, it may free them up physically and emotionally to be better support to their disabled partner. They recognize that in order to keep loving and caring for their partner, they must end their marriage with dignity and create a new type of relationship. It may feel impossible to end your marriage with dignity after your spouse becomes disabled. Whether there is often relief that accompanies the decision, there is also usually a lot of guilt and anxiety. There are also a lot of unanswered questions. How do we do this? Is it even possible to stay connected without being married? How can I help my spouse understand what is happening? What can I do to help make this easier for both of us? What should I say? These things I do can be sure that my partner is cared for and supported for even if we are not married. And what I think about is cancer victims.
Right.
I study, when you become or you suffer with cancer, I will talk on a woman's behalf.
Okay.
You lose your hair.
Right.
You go to get chemotherapy, dialysis, that has you weak.
Right.
So yes, some people get dark doing it. So you're no longer looking like the person that they met you.
Right.
So this story here, talking this, it sounds to me like, some people really walk away and some people cannot handle it.
Right.
They just cannot handle it.
Right.
So this is 8 tips she's saying here. Decide and agree on what your new relationship will be. Communicate this clearly based on your partner's disability. 2, use the right words and use them consistently. 3, find new ways to signify your new relationship, because some of them can't. Ensure that safety of the partner.
Right.
5, build a community around the disabled partner. 6, anticipate difficult days, because they will have many ahead.
Difficult ones,
Right? 7, be consistent in your new commitment. Right? 8, document what matters.
You see?
And in summary, ending a marriage to someone you still have loved and cared for is a difficult thing to consider and even more difficult to do. But sometimes finding a new relationship, one that isn't marriage, allows both people to flourish and keep a strong connection after one of them becomes disabled.
Wow.
Know that this isn't the end of your relationship, rather than it marks a turning point that has the potential to benefit you both. There is no one right or wrong way to make this change. Some couples continue to vacation together and others don't. Some have regular date nights while others limit their interaction to phone conversation. The only choice that are right are the ones that you and your former partner agree to, and they don't have to make sense to anyone.
Anybody, right. This
I
is
love
really
that point of
interesting.
view.
I love it.
That
This
letter
really
is
good.
realistic.
This
Yes.
is so real.
Yeah.
We do have one more male who wants to
Yes.
call in. You want to call
Yeah.
Juan, or you want me to just use it? It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Put him on speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have another male who
Love
has
him.
the same kind of situation that occurred.
Hi,
Hello?
welcome
Hey.
to Motivational Monday. We have you on speaker. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, how you? Hey, double P.
I'm fine. We're fine.
We're good, thank you. So our question, our question was, if you are married or with a spouse or in a committed relationship and that person becomes disabled, will you stay or stay committed, or will you leave?
Well, I've never been in that situation, but coming from experience, my mother had she was disabled and stuff like that. So she had situations like that. But it was more. When I noticed when she became that way and started losing her legs and things like that and had to be in the wheelchair. You know, a lot of her, not only her relationships were different, her friendship relationships were different also. So it's not just the fact of that. It's not just the fact of that. You know, her boyfriends at that time, they were messed up and they didn't treat her right because of her thing. They used her. You know, they used her for different things.
Wow.
You know, her friends also abandoned her because you know, it's not always just about the relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend. It's also, you know, it could be friendship,
right.
It could be family,
yes.
it could be all that. So I noticed to see that a lot of her friends, after everything used to be Keisha and Keisha this and Keisha that, and used to come over and hang out with Keisha and all that. And then after, you know, she lost her legs, it was just like everybody just became
abandoned her.
Right.
So
you know,
sad.
people didn't even show. It's like friends that they call like best friends didn't even show up to the funeral.
Wow.
You know, she passed away, and you know a lot of her boyfriends I didn't really like. So it was like, you know, they weren't men that really could support that. You know, I feel like this in the beginning. You know, I feel like you shouldn't be with that type of person because you don't know how that can mess somebody up.
Right.
If you feel like you can't be around that person or be with that person, you should just let them know from the beginning.
Right.
Because that's not only playing with that person's emotions, that's playing with that person's mind.
Right.
And you don't know, and especially in the Black community,
yes.
you don't know what can happen. We can, you know, my mother could have really killed herself now.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, I'm thankful, you know, she still passed away, but I'm thankful she didn't kill herself because of no man or no friends who wasn't really friends or a good man to them. But, you know, that's playing with people's emotions.
Yes.
And, you know, Phyllis and Philla, y'all can walk, and, you know, if you decide that you mess with somebody who can't walk, and you still sticking around, but you're really not there for the right reasons, you know, that's playing with the person's mental and playing with their body, you know what I'm saying?
Correct.
That's how I feel about that.
Yes.
Right.
Well, thank you for your contribution.
Yes, and I think it's a great point that you raised, that it's not just the loved one, but it's also friends.
Yes.
Your friendship change. We didn't even touch on that. So thank you for bringing that up, because that's also, I think, a very significant part of a loving relationship. Your friendships.
Yes.
You know, your friends feel like, oh, you can't hang out with them anymore.
Yes.
You're no use to them anymore because you're the odd one. So it's a really sad situation. I'm so sad that your mom had to go through that, you know, but I'm happy that she's no longer in pain.
Right.
And, you know, God is with her, and you're really a great son. So thank you.
Yes. Very good son to stick with your parents, you know?
All right. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you for calling.
Right, good night.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. And I want to shout out my friend Mike Tatoli. Again, please accept my condolences. I know you bury your mom today. Sorry I couldn't make it to Hackensack, New Jersey, but you know I love you. Mikey, I love you. And on behalf of Delta Airlines, you know we love you, Captain Mike. Okay, he's always tuning into Motivational Monday too. He's on right now. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
So yes, our topic we're talking about, if you become disabled and you are in a relationship, or marriage, if you will stay or leave.
Right.
And we got 3 gentlemen tonight, which
nice.
is so nice. That first time on the program,
we
had
3
men talking tonight.
Because this topic seems so much like the woman is the one who, you know, has to undergo it. But I think it's great to see a different perspective. And here one talks about their mother, the other one talks about their wife or spouse, the other one talks about that they weren't the ones that had the problem. The spouse is the one that had the problem. So, and you notice in one of the stories, the woman was pushing the guy away because I think she did not want to feel like he would ever resent her. Right. The problem is he actually said I wasn't going to leave. So she didn't have a problem with him leaving. She had a problem with him promising to stay. Yeah. Because if you're really, and that's what, our last caller mentioned, it's like, be honest. Like, even though it might be difficult to be honest, even if you tell the person, I love you, I'm here for you, but I don't know how long I can do this. Right. Even that is better than assuming that, better than lying, saying, oh, I'm here for you. I'll always be here for you. Don't worry. Because you're giving a person assurance when you know deep in your false hope. Even though you know that deep down, you're not the real deal.
Yes, and Sherry saying if you seek counseling, you can work along with disability. Right. We go back to love and patience. There where we need to have that strong relationship with God. There's nothing God cannot do. You know why he made marriage. My husband had a problem concerning his health, and my prayers and counseling and my mom's support, it worked. Nancy saying, great point about friends. That's one thing I feel strongly about. Support to your friends that disabled are opposed to an intimate partnership. Right. Intimate partnership.
It's really important.
You understand?
Really, really important.
And it's very important, and then, these were such good stories tonight,
Really, really interesting. And it puts things into perspective because it makes you realize that you might not be alone in thinking the way you think. There are people from different cultures, races, parts of the world. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and human beings, we all experience the same things. It doesn't matter what your race, your ethnicity, your gender, your sexual preference, whatever the case might be. We are still human beings at the end of the day. We have feelings, we have emotions, but what separates us from the rest is how we deal with our relationship with ourselves, with our family, with God. I really think that sets us apart. Yeah. Because when you have that, you navigate differently. Because we can't be the navigators of our own destiny. We are not in control. Exactly. At the end of the day. We need help. We need assistance. We need prayers. We need faith. So I think, this to me is why this is really important, because you don't know what you're going to accept.
You don't know what tomorrow will bring.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And you can sit there and say, oh, me? Never. And then you be the same one doing it.
Exactly.
Like I was talking to Juan the other day, and, I said, my first relationship, I left just because I assumed he was cheating. And then the second relationship, it was blatant that he was. I mean, he had children on me. He had a whole family on me. Yeah. And I never left at that time. And it's like I went from one relationship where I assumed to the next relationship where it was blatant. But if someone would have asked me 13 years ago if I would have ever stayed in a relationship with a person who would do that, I would tell them, hell no. Like, are you nuts? Like, don't disrespect me like that. Right. So you really never know what you will and will not do. But at the end of the day, it's your faith, it's your resilience, it's your walk, the walk. And that, to me, now, thank God, I'm no longer in that relationship anymore. But it took me 13 years to finally say, okay, enough is enough. Yeah. Like, the disrespect, the hurt, the pain, the everything. Like, you've done everything. You walked on me so many times, and I always just hope that maybe you'll be the man that I need and deserve. But from the beginning, as we always talk about these red flags, they were always there. You just choose to ignore them, and honesty is the best, because when you are honest, you allow that person to be well informed to make a decision. Yeah. There are people who will stay with you knowing the truth. Yeah. But so then it's important not to lie. Yeah.
And Nancy saying the promise he made was the expected answer.
Correct.
The issues is very deep and sensitive.
Right.
And we want to leave you guys with a couple of critical points to make a relationship last. I will say one, you go to all right. One, do not play games. You had a childhood for a reason.
Yes, games are for kids.
Yeah. 2,
control your jealousy, even if you're madly in love with your partner, and want them all to yourself. If you don't control your emotions, you'll create constant problems that will make them leave you. You don't. want that now, do you?
Right. 3, appreciate the small things even when you don't feel it. One day you will look back at them and realize they were the big things.
Yes. 4, do not take your partner for granted, even if you're passing through not so lovey-dovey phases.
Yes. 5, agree on your sexual needs. I'm not saying have sex. You can have 0 sex, but be happy together as long as you both are okay with it.
Yes. 6, master the balance of power. Both of you should have equal control of the relationship. The moment one of you becomes more controlling, you'll take advantage and abuse each other.
7, do not change to the worst for your partner.
Right. 8, change to the best if you have to for you and your partner.
9, think with your brains and not always with your heart. When it comes to relationship, because your emotions can be very intense, that they could push your partner away, being too affectionate or too angry, being too jealous, etc.
10, be there for your partner when they need you, even if they claim they don't need you. Your job is to feel it without the other person saying it.
11, always trust your partner, otherwise problems, jealousy, insecurities will hit you like a big truck.
A Big Mac truck.
Yes.
12, communicate and solve your problems in a mature way instead of leaving, shouting, fighting, and arguing all the time.
That's good.
Very
13, show love and affection. This is critical, especially in long-term relationship. When you get too used to your partner that you forget that you are not showing them love the same way you used to in the beginning of the relationship.
14, go out of your way for them. They'll appreciate it and forever be grateful about it.
15, open up and let your other partner see you for who your true self and nothing less.
16, understand your other partner even if you both don't agree on something.
17, be positive and happy. Nobody wants a partner that consistently nag, argues, and lame reasons.
18, be on the same level of maturity. I'm not saying you should be mature to make it work, but you can both be immature and work it out. However, a mature person cannot in any way stay long-term with an immature one.
19, go on adventures. Always discover new things and make your relationship exciting, because some of them get dead.
Boring.
Yeah.
20, cuddle often.
And 21, most importantly, be yourself.
Yes. Woo,
Right?
that was
So
really
guys, I hope
awesome.
that my friend who sent me this topic tonight, because she wanted
is
to tell me about
satisfied
it,
with what we
I
done
hope,
with it.
I hope you're satisfied with what we brought tonight. And again, if you want to hear a topic from Philla and I, just hit
Send
me.
it in, text,
Yeah, send me a
email.
text, email, and we will discuss
We'll
it.
cover it.
Right?
Always, no matter what. And even if we have something planned, unless it's like maybe a guest, we are willing to shift just to accommodate our audience, because we're here because of you. So thank you.
And thank you so much for taking the time out to always,
Yes.
be here on Motivational Monday with us. We know that you guys are busy and you could be doing other things, but hey, we're here and thank you for your support constantly.
Always.
And I want to say Swag 5 will be June 17th. And we're going to be swagalicious.
Swag.
So more to come.
Sexy women and gentlemen.
Yes, guys.
Yeah.
And I want to say happy birthday to my friend Lisa and work. Happy birthday. We went out for drinks earlier on. And my sister-in-law Dane's birthday is coming up on Wednesday.
Nice.
And we've been partying all weekend.
Party.
And then on Thursday, I'll be in Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Hey,
So motivation
enjoying.
will be on
motivating
location.
herself in Jamaica.
And then, so next week, God's willing, will be our last Monday of the month.
Okay.
And we will be having 2 guests talking about grief.
Okay.
So that should be interesting, how you deal with grief.
Very important.
I have a friend who lost 2 children.
Oh,
And I
very
have
sad.
my next friend Gina. She'll come on. She'll lose her mother. She'll lose her grandson. And we'll be talking about grief next week. So stay tuned. All right.
All right.
To you also, Nicole or Bonita. All right, guys.
Yes.
Anything
Remember, each one
Teach one.
Yes. We love you. Thank you so much for supporting and being there We wish you all a happy, safe, relaxing, and productive weekend.
Yes.
And
just be safe out
just
there.
be safe out there. Thank
All right.
you. Love
Today's
you
the first day of spring.
Oh,
we spring. We
it?
sprung.
We spring ahead.
Yes.
That's what we're doing now.
Hoping the
That's
weather
awesome.
get a little better.
It
right?
is. The whole week is going to be in the 50s, guys. Today was weird, but
yeah. Hopefully. All right.
So
have a blessed
love
night.
you guys.
Love you guys. Mike, please accept our condolences
Yes, Mike.
once again to the Huggins family and the Tatoli family. Thank you guys. Good
Love
night.
you guys. God bless.